Edward _Kupilian said, GSP said he has his career, he has a plan for the rest of his career, only if he wins. If he loses, he said he'll retire. If he beats Bisping, what do you think his plan is?
I think George St. Pierre's plan is if he loses, he's like, oh, my bad, give me that money, I'm out of here. But if he were to win, he does not defend 85. I think he does only one more fight, and it's a super fight, and I just don't think Woodley's that super fight. I don't think he wants to fight a guy like Woodley, who's a terrible matchup for him, and lose his belt at 170, and that's his end of his career. I don't see those stars aligning because I think Woodley would beat GSP. I think he's a bigger, more explosive, tough version of GSP right now, and GSP just hasn't been around to craft his art. So I just don't see Woodley getting that fight ever. I think what happens if George were to win, it's a big if against Bisping, and I think both of them are, to be honest, are damn near done. I think even if Bisping wins, he probably retires. I don't think he wants to fight Whittaker, the winner of Luke Rockhold Whittaker. Yeah. That's just not a good idea for him. So I think both guys are on the back nine of their career. I think what would happen, and it depends on what happens with Conor, but the only other fight you're going to get out of George St. Pierre is a super fight with Conor McGregor.
Oh, wow.
Back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, because you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Do you guys remember whenever Dana White took Ariel Helwani's press pass for breaking the Brock Lesnar was coming back before they got to? Brendan Shaub better watch out. Hey, didn't he say that shit like matter-of-factly? Like, I was listening to that shit at work. Now, I'm not fucking acting like I'm breaking the news, but I will say you heard it here second. You heard it at Brendan Schaub's first, but it's not being made a big deal or nothing, you know, because it's not official at all. It hasn't been reported by Ariel Helwani, the UFC, or anybody. But it's looking like the winner of George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping will not be fighting Robert Whittaker next. It's looking like there already might be plans for Robert Whittaker possibly defending his interim title, or the winner of this fight maybe vacating. I don't know. But maybe these talks are just if somebody gets injured in this fight, you know, like Robert Whittaker was injured, that's why he's not fighting. Because if you didn't know, Robert Whittaker is the current interim middleweight champion. He was injured in his fight, so he was unable to fight Michael Bisping, and so George St. Pierre is fighting Michael Bisping in his return for the middleweight championship. But if Robert Whittaker didn't get injured, then he would be fighting tonight. Well, if this fight goes that way, maybe if somebody, you know, because the UFC, they're gonna probably look to have a big 2018. I'm thinking, you know, Conor McGregor might come back at the end of the year, and I think they're gonna want to continue on that momentum. And Robert Whittaker is a great young prospect, great young champion. He's gonna need a fight soon. Well, with this fight happening November 4th, George St. Pierre and Michael Bisping might not be ready, say January 20th, to fight again against Robert Whittaker. Well, if that's the case, then we may have Robert Whittaker versus Luke Rockhold on our hands, according to Brendan Schaub. Now, he was talking about what he thinks is next for George St. Pierre. He did say in this episode of his podcast, I believe it was episode 46, that he just doesn't believe that either one of these guys are going to defend versus Robert Whittaker or George St. Pierre specifically. He thinks he's going to try and fight Conor McGregor next, which would be a fucking tremendous super fight, but it would leave the middleweight division in limbo, so that would most likely lead toward Robert Whittaker defending his interim strap, while George St. Pierre or Michael Bisping, you know, might do a super fight next. Tyron Woodley also did say he believes his next fight will be the winner of GSP or Bisping, so we don't know what's going to happen with this fight yet, but it's looking like as far as the middleweight strap is concerned, it's probably going to be Luke Rockhold versus Robert Whittaker, and I'm fine with that. That's actually a great fight. Luke Rockhold already said he feels like Robert Whittaker is the true champion, and he would like to fight him, you know, for the true belt. So GSP and Michael Bisping are fighting for the, you know, I don't want to call it the paper champ, but on paper it's the real belt. Robert Whittaker, interim champion. Now, the only other possible fight I was thinking about for Luke Rockhold is, you know, Chris Weidman, you know, that was a possibility. Derek Brunson, maybe, you know, there's some middleweight contenders right now. But as far as, you know, the next guy to fight Robert Whittaker, who do you guys want to see? That's what I'm curious. And what do you guys think this means? Do you think this was just a slip of the tongue? I mean, Brendan Schaub, he's not, you know, it's not like he works for the UFC, so he's not, I don't know if he's an insider, but he does have a lot of friends, you know, in specifically Joe Rogan, who is an insider, you could say, on the MMA. He would be privy to some of this knowledge, but Brendan Schaub's coming out, and the way he said it, like the context I said it in, it made it kind of seem like a done deal, which I'm sure it's not, or I'm not sure, but I don't know how they, you know, how that would even be possible. You know, Michael Bisping versus George St. Pierre hasn't happened yet, but it's, you know, if George St. Pierre wins and goes on for a super fight, or even Michael Bisping, he might go for a super fight. It's looking like it's going to be Robert Whittaker versus Luke Rockhold. I don't know what else to say. It is what it is. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tell me in the comments. Am I crazy, or did Brendan Schaub let some shit slip? I'm out. I lied. I'm not out. I'm going to be doing a live stream later on the other channel, Full-Time MMA 2. I figured out how to live stream from the computer, which is dope as fuck. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a live stream later. The quality's a little grainy, but you know how that is. Shit, we're still figuring everything out. This is a fucking, just new and shit. So I got to get another light, you know, a better webcam, but still, come through, hang out. It's going to be on a Google Hangout. If you want to even hop on that bitch, that's possible. So subscribe to Full-Time MMA 2 for the live stream if you want to come through. We can talk about UFC 217. The press conference went down today. That shit was on fire. Way better than I even expected. That press conference was heat if you didn't listen to it. The pre-fight press conference, UFC 217, we talk about all that shit. It is what it is, man. Now I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.